Dark Case Files, Real Crime, Real Story. December 6, 1991. Austin, Texas. The air was cool that Friday night, the kind of December evening where holiday lights were beginning to glow across quiet neighborhoods. Inside the small strip mall on Anderson Lane, the I Can't Believe It's yogurt shop was preparing to close. It was a typical teenage job. Bright pink walls, pop music from a small radio behind the counter, stainless steel topping trays filled with sprinkles and crushed Oreos, the smell of sugar and waffle cones hanging in the air, for girls were inside. 17-year-old Eliza Thomas, responsible, dependable, the one trusted to lock up. 15-year-old Amy Ayers, friendly and outgoing. 13-year-old Jennifer Harbison, younger than the others, just helping her older sister that night. And 15-year-old Sarah Harbison, protective of Jennifer, making sure she stayed close. They were finishing their shift, counting the register, wiping tables, talking about weekend plans. Outside, traffic moved normally. Nothing seemed unusual. But sometime between closing and 11 p.m., everything changed. At 11:23 p.m., firefighters were called to the strip mall. Smoke was pouring from the yogurt shop. When firefighters forced entry, they expected to find a small kitchen accident or faulty wiring. Instead, they walked into something that would haunt them for the rest of their careers. Inside the burned interior, they discovered the bodies of the 4 girls. They had been bound, they had been shot. The fire had been deliberately set, likely to destroy evidence. The scene was chaotic. Melted plastic, charred walls, smoke damage everywhere. But one detail was immediately clear. This was not an accident. This was murder. By morning, the news had spread across Austin. Parents refused to let their kids go out alone. Schools were filled with whispers and tears. Churches held vigils. How could something this brutal happen in a frozen yogurt shop? This wasn't a high-crime neighborhood. It wasn't a late-night bar district. It was a safe suburban shopping center. The randomness terrified people. Police formed a massive task force. More than 40 detectives worked the case at its peak. They canvassed the neighborhood. They interviewed employees from nearby stores. They collected every possible piece of physical evidence, though much of it had been destroyed by the fire. One troubling discovery stood out. The girls appeared to have been alive for some time inside the store before the murders occurred. The attackers had controlled the situation. That suggested planning, and possibly more than one person involved. Over the next several years, police chased hundreds of leads. Suspicious vehicles reported that night. Men seen loitering near the strip mall. Former customers. Local criminals with violent records. Sketch artists produced composite drawings based on limited witness descriptions. But nothing stuck. DNA samples collected at the scene were too degraded to produce strong matches using early 1990s technology. The case began to stall. And as the years passed, the file grew thicker, but answers remained thin. For the families, the waiting was torture. Birthdays passed, graduation years came and went. The girls who should have grown into adulthood remained forever teenagers in framed photographs. In 1999, nearly 8 years after the murders, police announced major arrests. Robert Springsteen, Michael Scott, Maurice Pierce, Forrest Welburn. Investigators claimed the men had been connected to the crime through tips and interrogation breakthroughs. After lengthy questioning, 2 of the suspects confessed. But there was a problem. Their confessions didn't align. Details changed. Key elements contradicted the physical evidence. Still, prosecutors moved forward. The pressure to solve the case had been immense. Public frustration had built for years. In 2001, Robert Springsteen was convicted and sentenced to death. Michael Scott received a life sentence. For many in Austin, it felt like closure. But for others, doubts lingered. As the 2000s progressed, DNA technology became far more advanced. Attorneys pushed for retesting of biological evidence recovered from the scene. In 2009, new DNA results delivered a bombshell. The biological evidence did not match the convicted men. Not Springsteen, not Scott. Their convictions were overturned. Both men were eventually released. The city was stunned. If they didn't do it, then who did? The real killers had never been caught, and nearly 2 decades had already passed. Was it random? Did someone target the shop specifically? Were the attackers watching the girls that night? Investigators believe at least 2 perpetrators were involved. The level of control at the scene suggests coordination, but without definitive DNA matches, prosecutors have been unable to move forward. In recent years, the case has been re-examined again using modern forensic genealogy, the same technique used to catch the Golden State Killer. Authorities have stated that they remain committed to solving it, but as of today, the case remains unsolved. For the Harbison family, the loss was unimaginable. 2 sisters taken in one night. Eliz's parents described her as responsible beyond her years, someone who always followed the rules. Amy's friends remember her laugh. Every December 6th, Austin remembers them. Vigils are still held, flowers are still placed. The yogurt shop is long gone. But the memory isn't, because it shattered the illusion of safety. Because it happened in a place associated with sweetness and innocence. Because 4 girls went to work and never came home. And because after all these years, we still don't know who did it. Somewhere, someone knows. Someone has lived decades with that secret. And until the truth surfaces, the smoke from that December night never truly clears. This is Dark Case Files. We post real crime every day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next case.